What's up everybody, it is DanKamYouKnow, and thanks for tuning in to another video. Today we're going to be building in the all-new H9 Flow case. It's been out for a couple months. I've actually had this in my garage for a little while, but now is the time to finally build in it, and we're going to be swapping over from my Height Y40, which is very similar, so it'll be cool to do a little comparison of the two. But let's get this thing unboxed and take a look at this bad boy. All right, so let's take a good look at the exterior of the H9 Flow, and we've got a tempered side glass panel that is removable with this one thumb screw, so it's currently already loose. So you just back this fully out and it doesn't come out, and then you just push this little handhold right here, and once you push it that way, it'll remove the side panel. The top panel doesn't require any screws, it just completely pops off, so you grab this little handhold right here and you just push up, and then it will just completely release from the case. And then it is all mesh, and it does have a removable filter. And then over here we've got our front panel connections. We've got power button, USB type A, USB type C, and an audio jack. I kind of wish that they were down here, because like I just said in my Height Y40 video, I really like when the front panel connections are down below, but that's okay. All right, moving on to the back, it is completely mesh. And if you didn't know, the Flow in the name means that it's basically just all mesh. There's an elite version, which is glass, and I obviously want more airflow, so we went with the Flow. So you can see it's got all these larger holes for as much airflow as possible, which is awesome and exactly what I wanted. And then the back panel also has a gigantic dust filter in there as well. And it is removable, so you can clean it. And then that's also removable with one thumb screw over here. So this one I can demonstrate. So you loosen this out, it's loose, and then you just grab right here and pop it out. Then the back, got support for a 120 millimeter fan. Our power supply is gonna sit right here. So this is a dual chamber case. And then we've got our PCIe slot, like protectors, covers. We're probably going to be removing these three to make way for my 3080. And then the front, I do see a couple screws that release the front, but the owner's manual says nothing about removing the front panel glass, so I'm not going to. When I'm editing, I may include whether it's removable or not. I'm sure it is, but at the same time, it's also the support for the top of the case, so I'm probably not going to be removing it. And then I really like how the feet for it are really tall to let in as much airflow as possible. And then I'm not gonna flip it around right now, but I took some pictures, but the bottom has a nice removable dust filter as well. So there's the exterior of the case, guys. Looks really good, but let's get the panels off and talk about the build and everything it's capable of. All right, so let's start it off with fan support. So the rear will support only a 120 millimeter fan. The side will support up to 3 120 millimeter fans. The bottom and the top will support up to 3 120 millimeter fans, or you can fit up to 2 140 millimeter fans. You can see the bottom and the top have these cutouts. This is for a 120 millimeter fan, and then this is for a 140 millimeter fan. And then as far as radiators go, you can fit up to a 360 millimeter AIO on the side, the bottom, and the top, while the top and the bottom will also support up to a 280 millimeter radiator. And then if you wanted to, the rear will also support a 120 millimeter radiator. And this will support up to ATX size motherboards, which is what I'm going to be going with. And then I'm really hoping that these little pass-throughs right here will fit my GPU cables cleanly. So cable management's gonna look good. And then sometimes when you have a radiator and a fan mounted at the top, sometimes it's hard to fit cables through this little pass-through right here. So I'm really hoping my EPS cable, my CPU cable will fit nice and cleanly through there. And then moving on to the top, you can remove this thumb screw and this thumb screw, and then this bracket will come out so you can easily mount your fans or your radiator or whatever it might be. And the same thing for the side mounted little bracket right here. You remove this thumb screw, this one, and then this bracket comes out and you can mount your radiator or your fans. And then just for the sake of the video, I removed the screw that goes right there and the one that goes right there. They do give you a warning to make sure you remove those before rotating this out. It's actually on a hinge and it's actually magnetic, so you just pop this and then you can easily mount your SSDs right here, the 2.5 inch drives. And then if you wanted to remove this, it just kind of snaps out like that. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Oh yeah. So boom, that's magnetic, so that's pretty cool. And then we've got a bunch of cable management Velcro on the top and the side here, so cable management should be really easy. And then same thing for over here, and these are all of our front panel connectors. And those are all grouped in this bag right here to protect them. And then right here, this is kind of a little shelf for the power supply. So obviously the power supply is gonna screw in right here, and then it kind of just rests on here. So it's not fully supported by the rear of the case right here when it's bolted in. So a little support right here. And then this is the HDD tray. So if you still have 3.5 inch drives, you can mount them in here. And then if you remove this thumb screw and you kind of slide it up a little bit, you can pull it out. So that's pretty cool. I only use M2 drives, so M.2, so I will not be using this little tray for the 2.5s or the 3.5s, so a lot easier that way and a lot faster. And then the rear, I kind of showed you this earlier, but we've got where we bolt in the fan and our PCIe covers. And I think that's it as far as the case goes. I'm going to be going with 3 120 millimeter intake fans on the bottom, 3 120 millimeter intake fans on the side, a 120 millimeter exhaust in the rear, and then I'm going to have my 360 millimeter radiator on the top as exhaust. So it's going to have some positive pressure, and I'm really hoping the thermals in this case are good. I've heard that they're not bad at all for being front glass and side glass. And then as far as what comes with the case, it came in this little H9 series box, and we've got some zip ties for cable management, and then we've got all our screws for the motherboard, for hard drives, power supply, and then even if you have like a different size motherboard, it does give you the little standoff wrench. So from the factory, they're actually installed for an ATX board, but you can use that little wrench and then you can move them to the slot you need to fit your motherboard, whatever size it may be. All right, guys, so I think that's gonna do it for our little walk around of the case. So let's finally get into the build. All right, dude, so the build is all done, and the build experience in it was actually pretty nice. I didn't really run into any roadblocks. It's pretty easy to build in. It is a very large case, so there's a ton of room for all of your components. Like I said, it is dual chamber, so it takes up quite a bit of space, and it's pretty tall. So keep that in mind if you're planning on going with a case like this for yourself. But the Lee & Lee Infinity fans look fantastic. I'm using all 120s in this build. And the top and the rear are exhaust, and the bottom and the side are intake. So we've got a little bit of positive pressure, and so far the temperatures have been fantastic. I ran a benchmark for the CPU, and it is a 5900X on a 360mm AIO. And in Cinebench R23, the max temperature I saw was 68 degrees Celsius, which is darn good and actually much better than my Height Y40, which was to be expected because this does have much more case fans and better airflow. And the GPU, I don't know if it's because of the case or the Height Y40 and it being vertical mounted and not really having many intake fans, but the GPU only hit 68 degrees in my Heaven 4.0 benchmark, which is fantastic. So I don't know if it's the bottom intake fans contributing to that, or if it's because it's horizontal now. So I'll definitely have to do a comparison to when I buy a vertical mount. And NZXT's vertical GPU mount has been sold out for months now, and as soon as it becomes available, I'm going to be swapping over to that. So stay subscribed if you're interested in seeing that video. That'll hopefully come in a couple weeks. Whenever it comes back in stock, I may have to settle for another brand. But it's actually weird seeing my GPU horizontal because it's been vertically mounted for like the past year now. And honestly, I think I prefer the vertical mount. But the build looks really good, guys. I'm really happy with it. And I think once the GPU is vertically mounted, I think I'll like it a bit more because this isn't the most attractive motherboard. There's definitely better looking boards out there, but I don't particularly like the way this one looks. In this case, this case kind of highlights the board more. And it just made me realize that this motherboard's actually kind of ugly. So I might be going with a different board in the future that looks a little nicer, but it functions fine, which is what I need. But it looks great. And I really like this cable management routing. I guess I would consider it like a block. Like it basically just blocks all the cables coming out of there. But they added like this reflection. So you can see it kind of reflects these fans right here. It almost looks like I have fans like behind the motherboard or something, but that's actually just a reflection. So like if you look from here, you can't see the motherboard 24 pin. It is see-through, but with all the lights on in there, you actually can't see through it right now. But I think that's really cool. Then we've got this GPU sag bracket keeping my GPU up. It was like 10 bucks off Amazon. The other one I had actually didn't fit. Then the only part I really had an issue with was the cable management. And let me get a little bit more light back here. So I really wish the PSU was mounted down below because the hard drive cage is right there. So the way I had to route all my cables was kind of annoying. Like they basically come out and they go down and then they go back up again because I am using extensions. And honestly, the cable management is a nightmare. And I kind of just wanted to get this build done so I didn't spend too much time like I normally do. But I mean, it's functioning. They're all hidden. And I do have that panel that sits right here. I do have that off right now. So it looks a little bit better when it's on. But most people don't care about cable management. Eventually, I'm probably going to fix that. But I kind of wish the PSU was mounted down here. I just think it would be a little easier to do the cable management. But they're all in there. The back panel closes. So in the future, I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Probably when I get the vertical GPU mount. But yeah, guys, this is the build. What do you guys think? Do you guys like this case? Is it too big? This is kind of the Lee & Lee 011 dynamic. I wouldn't call it rip-off, but Lee & Lee was the first manufacturer to do this type of case. But I do think NZXT took the idea and kind of went with it and made it their own. So it is similar, but at the same time there are a lot of differences. And I just really love that it's all mesh. I can see why this case was sold out for so long. It literally took me almost a month of checking every day to see this case finally come back in stock. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Do you like it more than the Height Y40? Do you like it less? Would you consider it for yourself? I mean, just let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and let me know what you think of the build. And yeah, I'm thinking it looks really good. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Fred thanks you for tuning in and supporting his father. Look at this handsome little boy. Look at this little model here. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the video. Drop a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you enjoy my content. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see y'all in the next video.